All right, here we go.
And here they all come. Regular crowd, yep, for the most part.
Regular crowd shuffling in.
Shuffles in, exactly. Oh, well, welcome everyone to Trash Talk Live number 39. Never thought we'd make it this far. And that joke never gets old, does it, Peter?
It gets better every time.
It gets better every time. My name's Ian Maverick. I'm coming to you from, well, wintry Melbourne, Australia. It's about 5 degrees outside, 7 a.m. on a Sunday morning. I do this because I'm crazy.
Where
But
were
what
you
else,
then?
but what else would I be doing other than sleeping in? So we got 2 hour show as usual today. We're going to talk about what people are up to with their TRS-80s and in the wider community. Got very few in the way of rules here. The basic rule is try not to swear and use bad language. Only I'm the only one allowed to use bad language here. And if you get to set your mobile phones to mute, that would be good. Today we'll follow what we did last year. So at the halfway point, we'll have a look at a magazine to examine and look back at what we were doing at the time. I've chosen the magazine this time. It's 80 Micro, August 1987. If you have a copy of that or want to download a copy, yep, that's the one there. Green font with a Model 1 on the cover. So we'll talk about that about the halfway point, and then once we run out of people to talk to, we'll play some online games. So thanks for everyone for joining us here. I'll just talk a bit about myself first. Uh, so yeah, I just come back from a holiday in Canada. I did very little computer stuff there, but had a much needed break. So that was pretty cool. Caught up with Neil from the Kogo community, also one of the Handy Assembly committee. So we talked about how my idea for relocating Tandy Assembly to Hawaii was met with great expectations, but didn't go ahead because it was an April Fool's joke. But if we can't have fun with you guys, who can we have fun with? It would have been a much shorter airline flight for me as well. So, maybe goals in the future. Um, as we speak, Cocoa Fest is on in Chicago, so I don't expect there to be a lot of Cocoa people here today. They're all at their annual fest, and I was looking at some pictures of it when it came through this morning while I was eating my breakfast. Looks like they're having a great old time there. So
I was hoping
hopefully,
somebody was going to live stream from the show. I kind of asked around, but don't see anybody joining.
yeah, it looks like all the usual people are there and they're having some fun. So I've been watching the pictures come through. Um, Hopefully they get to talk up Tandy Assembly and trash talk a little bit. That'll be big of them. What else? So uh, I make it 5 or 6 months out from Tandy Assembly. Does that sound about right, Peter? Yeah.
Yep.
But but more importantly, Eric, what are we? 5 weeks from VCF? 4 weeks?
6 weeks.
6 weeks? Okay. Yeah. It's all coming together. You all got everything sorted out. Is that you got to live stream that one?
I'm, going to be walking around the show and stuff, doing some, doing some things. I've, volunteered to assist in addition to having the Tandy assembly table there. So,
Yeah, that's great. Yeah. I've been fascinated by cat videos where people have put small GoPros on the collar hanging around the neck of the cat and it just walks around and you see what the cat does.
so you're
So
saying I should do that, huh?
I'm saying that live streaming need not be difficult or professional. So
Let's coordinate a Trash Talk Live with the show, and Eric can join us live from the show.
Eric can join. Yeah. yeah, it's see, this is a think tank of, good ideas here.
Yeah, and you can walk around and show us what's going on. We can all feel like we're part of it.
Yeah, yep, yep. Um, so yeah, so that's essentially what I've been doing, and picked up a large consignment of Apple gear. Not that it wouldn't interest many people, but um, I've been having some fun with that at the moment, repairing Apple disk drives, which, to be honest, are actually that a little bit easier than the Shugart style drives on TRS-80s. So that's what I've been doing in my spare time. And due to this Canada holiday, yeah, working something like 80 hours a week to knock back this credit card debt I've managed to somehow accumulate while on holiday. As any of you who have been on holiday know what that's like. So, all right, without further ado, let's move on to the viewers. Peter, what's up? Satinsky.
Hey, what's up, man? What have I been doing? Well, last month I was at VCF East and I had my Model 2 boards exhibit there. It was received very well. Everybody was very impressed. Talked to a lot of people who didn't realize, that a Model 2 had so many different accessory boards. I think I had 30 of them on display available. Uh, you know, People just figured it was just this stayed business machine with the four basic cards in it, and that's all you pretty much did with it. But nope, it was it had a lot of flexibility. Unfortunately, a lot of the boards didn't get leverage as much as they could have or should have, but that's history. But yeah, it didn't went really well. That's the last time I'm going to be displaying that exhibit because it's just a lot of work to put together. Um, I'm throwing out the panels, so I can't even mount the boards to in the future. I'm throwing them out on purpose because that way I don't have to do this exhibit again. Which I love the exhibit, but it's just a lot of work to get set up. And
It's done its job. Now it's time to put the cards back in the computers they came from, which are all sitting there
that's
open,
right.
I can imagine.
And I have so many other things I want to exhibit. So like this year at Tandy Assembly, I'm going to do the ArcNet exhibit because I got that ArcNet Active Hub. I was able to find that a few months ago. So I'm really psyched about that. Uh, Oh, something I just bought today. I don't know if you guys saw it. It was on the BCF forum. There was a HUH S100 interface board uh, that I've been looking for a long time, and the guy posted one up, and we came to an agreement. So I purchased that. So I'm really psyched to get that and start playing with S100 boards with my Model 1. Uh, we'll see how when that happens, how it happens. Because I've been kind of interested in getting into the S100 community. And I've also been starting to collect Tandy PCs. So I picked up a couple of Tandy PCs at VCF East. What was it? Where did I get it? 1000 RSX and 1000, maybe an RL. I forget which one I got there. And I've accumulated a few others. A 1000 SX. I'm looking for a TX. As everybody knows, there are probably 50 different varieties of Tandy PCs out there. The Joel could probably tell us the exact number, but I also have a Tandy Sensation 2, which is going to be coming to me at Tandy Assembly that Bert picked up for me, Marketplace find. So, yep, still actively collecting, even though I have no room for it. So I don't know what I'm going to do with it. But Tandy PCs are very collectible because you can just stack them like pizza pies. So I'm not too worried about it.
You kind of left your collecting of them a little bit late. At one point, I was able to get them very cheaply. They were just considered like any other sort of XT or 286 PC, and I got them for pennies on the dollar. But they're getting up there now. But yeah, there's a lot of them, particularly towards the end. They sort of started fairly quiet, um, but yeah, it became they made a lot of them once that was what they committed themselves to.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So that's about it for me.
Oh, cool. Well, good to see you keeping busy. And yeah, all right. So newbies, we've got Eric there who joined us earlier. How you going, Eric?
Good, thanks. Yeah, what I've been working on is putting some drives in a Model 4. My goal is to have a 5 1/4 3.5, a Go Tech, and a second 5 1/4, and a Fred, all visible in the front. So
It's
little
going to be
wonders
quite a
of,
machine.
yeah, so wonders of 3D printing, right? Be able to squish that Go Tech into a slot with the 3.5. So that's kind of what I've been working on, and then also finding 5 1/4 drives that are short enough to fit. Sometimes it's been a little more challenging because they hit the
Yeah.
back plane. So
Oh, okay. Because they're physically too long. They hit the back
correct.
of the. Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
I,
So
I over my years of sort of collecting systems from people in Australia, because I was involved with or known by a lot of the computer user groups, so they're kind of like, what do we do with our systems when we don't want them? And I said, oh, there's this guy in Melbourne who buys them. So I ended up with a lot, and some amazing engineering feats had been done on some of those things. And you could see on the towers that hold the drives various holes and cutouts and gaps and things cut in them for various different size drives, and one of them has second and third and fourth sets of holes drilled in to mount various half high things, drives and things in them. So that's going to be quite a an effort, but will definitely be worth it. We'll be keen to see pictures of it when it's finished. Yeah. So
Eric, are you doing your own 3D printing?
yes,
Okay.
Yep.
What kind of printer do you have? I'm curious.
it's a FlashForge Adventure 3 Pro 2. So it's just big enough to do a 5 1/4 plate.
Okay, cool.
Yep. Yeah, the other thing I've done is fought with a lot of, I actually like the Model 1. That's actually where I first touched computers. Do a lot of repaired a bunch of drives and stuff because I actually have one of the old alignment discs back from the day that still works and works with the Model 1.
okay.
Well, if you're good at aligning those drives, there's a market for them. I'm always getting people asking me, can you align my floppy drives? And I just don't have the time to spend doing it. But if you're willing to, if you're good at it and you can do it, efficiently, I think there's some market to offer that as a service if you're interested.
Yeah, I've wanted to come to Tandy Assembly for a few years, but it hasn't worked out, and actually thought about doing a tech talk on how to fight with the drives and get them to be good enough, right, to be usable.
That'd be awesome.
We would welcome a tech talk about that. So Peter, sign him up.
He's on the list. Good.
He's on the list. Oh,
Right.
okay. Yeah, no, that'd be good. Yeah, the drive alignment sort of a love hate with me. I only have a limited number of those old Dyson alignment discs, and so I figure that every time I use it, there's chance that the next time I go to use it, it's not going to work. So I use them sparingly on my own drives, but the alignment discs are a little bit difficult to find these days. So, and when the last ones I got on eBay, I got for a reasonable price. But I imagine, like everything on eBay, if someone turns up a box of new old stock alignment discs, they're going to go for some crazy amount of money.
Yeah,
Yeah,
try finding 8-inch alignment discs. That's even harder.
they're even harder to find. Okay. All right, Eric, a little bit about yourself just before you go. Where are you based? And
South Dakota, so middle of nowhere. So I don't know if there's anybody, you know, even remotely close here. But yeah, up in South Dakota.
nice. That's good to hear. All right, Eric, thanks for joining us. Hopefully you catch up with us next time and show us how you're going along with your Model 4.
All right.
Thanks, Eric.
Cool. All right, moving along, let's talk to Lawrence. Hey, Lawrence, how you doing?
Hey, man. Want to first mention the second Bay Area Tandy meetup, Tandy Assembly meetup. We had our first one last year, and the second one's going to be upcoming here in June 15. It'll be at the same location, the San Francisco State University. Bill Hogue will be there, and I think last time we had about 15 people. It was great. People brought stuff. There's a form. I'll be here dumping it into the chat. A form just so you can fill it out and people can know roughly who's coming. That should be fun. There you go. And I've been adding some fun stuff to my tools. If you guys want a quick demo, could be fun. No, it's not working. The share screen stuff is not working right now. I'll do it next time. But I added support for the FP215 plotter, a bunch of autocomplete options for the IDE, so you can autocomplete much more easily, and all the different, like, discovering different commands are way easier. I added support for writing floppies to the emulator. Model 1 supports floppies. I'm adding support for NuDOS-80 disks when dealing with virtual floppy drives. NuDOS-80 is like underdocumented, so it's a bit hard to figure out what's going on. And then I'm in the middle of adding support to writing to virtual floppy disks, so that if you want to just like, if you have a virtual floppy disk and you want to delete files or rename them or add files or something. And just last week I've gotten into making the emulator screen a lot more realistic. I think I've posted some screenshots where like scan lines and some distortion and stuff like that. So that's a fun thing I'm working on right now. So just various tools. Unfortunately, the share screen is not set up, so I can't share, but I'll do it next time.
Cool. Well, that's good to hear that the meetup in California is happening again for a second year. I'm glad that that event has got up and running again. So look forward to hearing about that. For people who don't know what date it is going to be on.
Yeah, so it's June 15. It's organized by Arno and Sasha and myself. It'll be
So about 5 weeks from now.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And it'll be 1 to 5. Last time we just hung out and then we all went out to dinner. It was great.
And Bill Hogue is going to be there. I mean,
Yep.
that's, for someone like
Yeah.
me, an aspiring TRS-80 game programmer, he's like our hero. He wrote some of the definitive games for the TRS-80. That's going to be amazing.
It's going to be great.
Yeah.
Be great if we could sweet talk him into coming to Tandy Assembly. We'll leave you to do your best, Lawrence?
Lawrence,
Perfect.
do your magic.
Yeah, we'll do that.
Okay, then. Cool. Thanks for joining us, Lawrence.
Yeah, of course.
Let's see. Joel. Hey, Joel. Nice collection you got there set up behind you. What's happening?
Thanks. Yeah, no, that's the Network 3. Just keeping it running. Make sure I turn it on every now and then so it doesn't die, right? Use it or lose it.
That's right.
But also been trying to play around with it, get the software installed on it. So when VCF comes around, somebody will have actually something to do other than play games. I got core plan successfully converted and put it on it. Graph statistics, the statistics software, the graphing software, some of the other programs. They're basically basic, and then it does some kind of conversion to the basic programs, changes lines and adjusts it for the network basics so that it'll run correctly. Because I actually jumped the gun trying to put core plan on the hard drive myself, just using there's 2 ways of converting. You can use the conversion program at the host, or you can use the student diskette and do the crazy long conversion program, which is what actually works correctly. But some programs you can just copy directly. They don't require conversion of the basic program. And so you can just type CONV 1 to 3, and it'll put it on the third disk on the hard drive. And it'll just copy it over out of like a TRS-DOS to LDOS file format conversion. But the student software, the Net3 software that came with the hard drive, comes with a different conversion utility that for specific catalog numbers, if you have it, you just tell it it's that you choose which one it was, and it knows what to go change in the software, and then drops it on the hard drive, or drops it onto a floppy disk that you then take to the host, and you do convert part 2, and it converts and drops it onto the hard drive. So, and then it runs. Like when I jumped the gun with core plan, it would start, but it would give some kind of error that a line wasn't right. But then it would run, but then certain things wouldn't happen, or it just looked weird. So then I went backwards, deleted all, went back, redid it again, and the conversion worked and it starts correctly. So yeah, just been working on getting the software copied, the giant pile of disks back here on the table, trying to get those imaged, get the specific ones that we wanted to get firsthand, get those taken care of. So I've got those image, just need to do some scanning. Yeah, a bunch of different stuff, man. Just irons and 1,000 fires, right?
Always the way. For those who don't know what it is, like me, what is Core Plan?
Oh, it's like a business simulator. Hold on. Business simulator program.
I've seen it in the catalogs, but I've never worked out what it actually is. So it's an educational suite that teaches business basics, is it?
So it says computer assisted instruction. So I guess it's so it's still educational, but yeah, a business simulation program. See if I can find like a synopsis here. Core Plan is an educational business simulation package for the college or advanced secondary students or anyone with an interest in business planning. The player or team of players determines overall business policy and decides how to manage production, sales, and finance for 12 quarters so that an imaginary corporation will succeed. Although Core Plan assumes some familiarity with business concepts, no computer experience is needed to use the program. Core Plan requires a disk-equipped Radio Shack Model 3 or 4 with 48K. Pretty neat.
How could Bill
Thinking
Ho
back to
compete
what
with
I was
that?
thinking back to what I was doing in high school, I don't think that would have been the first thing I grabbed off the shelf to put on the computer. But
Sounds
oh,
like
that's
an early version of like gamification, learning through games. Is that because you mentioned, Jill, you mentioned it's like you're playing it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It just kind of gives you a bunch of stats on the screen, and you've really got to be into math. It's definitely a math person's game for sure.
I might like it. I'm a math guy, so yeah, I might like it. It sounds from the description too much like I don't know if you've ever worked in the corporate world, but the KPI analysis each week or month of how well the business is running. That sounds a lot like it. Yeah.
So Joe, if I get,
Good.
I got the disk image copied, so happy to throw it up. Anybody else wants to play with it? It's successfully captured, no errors. So
That works with the Network 3? Or
Do
that's
what?
Is that with the Network 3?
no, it can run on a regular
Oh.
Model 4 or Model 3 and Model 4, 48K.
I thought it was a network only program. That's interesting.
No, it happened to actually be. It's featured in the Network 3 with hard disk manual. There is a section that lists, it's like 3 or 4 pages, and it shows every software catalog that is compatible directly, compatible with conversion, or one other one, just not compatible with something else.
Incompatible. Yeah.
Something like. I don't think they list the incompatible ones. I can't remember what it was. It's like, or the 2 levels of conversion. It's like some just require conversion. Oh no, that's right. Some require micropilot, which has yet to be recovered. So that's kind of like a missing gap in what I need for the Network 3. Micropilot allows me to run all of the Red Binder book series titles so that the students can run the education assessments on the readers. That's what I need that to be able to run that. And I think that's the other ones that it either requires conversion or it requires micropilot. But yep, fun stuff,
Cool.
right?
Yep. Awesome. How are your plans looking for Tandy Assembly? You reckon you'll be able to come along this year or?
If I can get the maintenance done on my truck, it's gonna need some work. It's the 5.7 Hemi with a 6-speed transmission, or eight. No, it's got the 8-speed. The 8-speed that they say is either sealed or not sealed, or it's maintainable or it's not maintainable, or it's a giant sum of funds to get it serviced, or it's not. It's very unclear with Chrysler right now. But if I can get that stuff done and get it managed before then and get out there, the truck won't survive as it is right now. I'll probably get halfway there and die.
Yeah, I hear you. I've just had to rebuild the transmission on my my daughter's Mercedes because that has a sealed for life transmission that we never did anything about. And then people said, it's not really sealed for life. It is for the customer, but
Yep.
not for the places that know how to service it and keep the ATF topped up, which we didn't.
The first customer lifetime.
Customer. That's exactly right. Oh, it'd be good to see you there. So hopefully everything will fall into place and we'll see you again this year.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Let's see. By the way, just a reminder, we're going to be looking at an 80 Micro magazine a bit later on. So for those who don't have a physical copy, if you're wanting something to do, I'm sure you can download a copy from various online places while we're here. It's an August 1987 copy. It's got a Model 1 on the cover.
Hello Computer Archive has it.
Yeah, August 1987. Okay, Vernon, haven't seen you for a while. How you been, mate?
I'm okay.
You're okay? Your teeth all better?
Much
How's
better
it-
now.
Yep. How's your choppers? Last
Still.
I heard, you had a bit of a toothache.
That was I had oral surgery.
Yeah, that's me being, my Aussie sense of humor. Yeah.
Yeah, I should be right about August.
Oh, good, good. Oh, good to hear you're on the mend. You been able to do any computer stuff, or you just sort of taking it easy and getting over your oral surgery?
Well, no, not really. I'm just treading water right now.
Oh, good. You keep treading water, and we'll all we'll we'll all wish the best for you, and hopefully we'll be all good by September, and we'll see you at the show again. So
All we can ask is to tread water. If we're treading water, we're good.
we're all treading water a little bit. Yeah, good on you, Vernon. Thanks for joining us. Always good when you can join us, by the way.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
All right. Let's see. George Phillips. Hey, buddy.
Hey, how's it going?
Not bad.
So yeah, I got a couple things. The latest version of TRS-80 GP is out of 2.5.3, I think. Mostly bug fixes. There's a pretty big bug fix with the RS-232 for the Model 134 line, which got broken along the way, but now it's back, and it's a bit better in the sense that it runs at the proper speed, so that if you are connected to something, it will run at 300 baud or 2400 baud. So it's realistic in that fashion.
You fired the QA department.
Yeah, I had some stern words, and then the QA department had some stern words back, and hands were thrown. Oh, and the other thing I did is I took out the automatic loading of the lowercase driver in Model 1, since it was a sort of never-ending source of confusion. The idea was that if you booted up a Model 1 in cassette mode, it would load the lowercase driver, so you kind of had the best possible Model 1, with lowercase support and everything, which is great, but it gets in the way when you try and load stuff from the command line, and people sort of were understandably confused all the time when they would boot up their level 2 Model 1. It would kind of like suddenly be in the ready prompt like it was a level 1 machine. So you can still have it loaded automatically. It's just you have to ask for it now. The default is good old memory size or mem size or whatever. The other thing I wanted to talk about is the TRS 8-bit competition of 2024, which has been underway for a while. Of course, no one's actually started on it yet, which is par for the course. No matter how much you encourage people to start early. And I really can't be, I don't know, throwing that stone in my glass house. So, but I thought I'd give a little demo of what I've got here. Do a screen share of my desktop, my PC desktop on my Mac. Let's see, screen 1. Yes. Okay, so I've got the web page up here for the competition itself. And that has all the information you need to enter it. The basic gist of it is that there's a big 5 game called Defense Command. And so what I've done is hacked up the game a bit so that it can be controlled by another TRS-80 program. So the objective of the contest is to write your own AI, as they call it, to control the game and achieve the highest possible score. And so at the website, here's a little package you can download, which is the special version of Defense Command and a few example scripts of how to use it. And what I've done is made it so that, you know, essentially it's going to, every frame, it's going to output the positions of all the enemies on the screen and the different types of enemies and the player ship and the shots, everything you need to know. And then your program reads that in and that writes back, you know, what it wants to do. Does it want to move left, right, fire your weapon, fire off a smart bomb? And that keeps going. And there's also some other information reported, like the score and the number of ships you have and stuff like that. A nice part of it is that you can actually write your own programs in BASIC to control it. So it's fairly easy just to fire up something simple to get this working. So I've got, this is all stuff that's in the zip file you can download from my website about the competition. But when you run it, it'll run two TRS-80s GPs in tandem, one talking to the other. And so you can see the real game on the left where all the enemies are coming down here. And this is you sort of start where your precious canisters and the ship yourself is sent down. On the right is just a thing showing all the information available, i.e. you see the dots tracking where the canisters and the enemy are moving and your ship. Now it's got a super dumb AI, which is going to make the first mistake you can, which is to shoot the big spider guy, who's immediately going to send out a bunch of enemies and kill you dead, dead, dead. But the actual basic program here is just kind of, you know, like a 5-line thing, which is just saying, oh, here's the enemy positions, and I'm going to just set or reset a pixel depending on where they are. And it runs in a little loop. So once the game is over, it'll fire up another game, and your, you know, AI program can deal with it. And I think based on the random AI here, it'll actually survive past the initial deployment stage and start moving and firing entirely randomly.
George, how is the data presented to the basic program? I'm curious.
Just as simple data statements, or just something you can do as input. So if I look at dots.txt, which may be hard to see here, but you'll see there's this line where it says input ntxy. And so that's basically it. It's fed in as if it were being typed from the keyboard. And then when you decide what to do, these lines down here are the various L prints, which you send it to the printer so that that goes back to the other TRS-80 and gives the action it wants to do.
Okay.
So there's another example I have from the thing, and it's the same sort of thing here, except that there's nothing in the AI here, but I just print little ASCII characters showing the various types of aliens that are coming down. So you see the capital C's are the canisters, and the lowercase letters are the various different types of enemies, which mostly doesn't matter. I don't think there's anything really particularly different about them except their appearance. But if there is a difference, your program will be able to tell. So yeah, the same sort of thing there. And as well, what is it? You can do this on other things supported by TRS-80 GP, including the color computer. So what did I call it? Oh, codots, right. So there's a little script that runs same sort of thing, but here we've got the original game on the right, so you can see what's happening, and then just another simple program on this time on the color computer, which is using its, you know, ability to do colors so that it's showing the good guys in blue and the bad guys in red. You can, if you squint your eyes carefully, you can kind of see, aha, you know, here's the enemy ships and here's your canisters at the bottom. And you getting transferred back up. And I think I may have made it so that your shots are yellow or something like that, or maybe I didn't get that fancy. Oh yeah, you can actually see it. You sort of just barely probably is a little yellow shot going up as the thing shoots. Again, it's random AI makes a mistake of shooting the guy and bringing instant death to itself. And of course, you could write it in assembly language on the TRS-80 if you want. It should work on most of the models supported by TRS-80 GP. And the competition has sort of two brackets. There's this restricted TRS-80 specific one where you can write it in BASIC or assembly language or what have you, see how well you do. Or there's the open one where you can just write any old program you want on the PC, talk to the TRS-80 and drive the thing. And so that should be easier to write a much more capable program. And I'm sort of hopeful someone's going to pick up that gauntlet and write some kind of amazing, deep learning solution to beat the darn game, because I don't think the game is actually beatable. And that's what I'd really love to see, is someone be able to play this thing indefinitely, or at least credibly prove that the game is unfair and you can't win it. So yeah, all the information is there. Start your engines and see if you can win some fabulous prizes in the competition.
That's great,
What are the
George.
prizes going to be? Do we know?
Go on.
Ian can probably tell you, but I think it's mostly any one of Ian's products. Is that right?
Yeah, pretty much. People just tell me afterward what they want, if anything, and I send it to them. People are pretty good. They don't say things like, what's your most expensive, time-consuming thing to build? I'll take one of those. People have spared me in that instance. It was interesting how you mentioned that probably not a lot of people have started on their entry yet. It sort of reminds me, most if not all of us here, I guess, went to university and sort of can be reminded of a lead up to exams, is that you spend most of the college semester sort of goofing off and then cram in the last 2 or 3 days before an exam in order to pass it. I might be speaking just for myself, but that's how I got through university. So I would imagine, like all previous contests, they come thick and fast in the last sort of 2 weeks or week before the entries are due in. So yeah, looks like a good one.
Yeah, I think it'll be cool.
Can you run on real computers? Like, can you hook up like a real TRS-80 through like parallel port lines or whatever you're using to communicate, or is it just emulator?
I mean, you could bridge it to a real TRS-80. The way I've done it now is that it uses to send the data to the other TRS-80. I hook it up to the sort of the input. There's when you paste something in TRS-80 GP, it sneaks behind the scenes and kind of shoves it into BASIC or TRIS-DOS. It doesn't manipulate the keyboard directly. So you're not really doing that on a real TRS-80, but obviously you could capture the printer output back. But then really, for TRS-80 GP, it's just emulating these RS-232 and keyboard connections just as TCP/IP connections. So if you're so inclined, you could hook those up to, whatever, say the RS-23, well, I guess in the simplest case, the RS-232 on the real TRS-80, and use that to communicate. You don't, I guess if you want to hook it up to even say another emulator, right, you could do it over the TCP/IP. I just present this as, I thought, a fairly simple way to get started on it.
Yeah. I still live in hope one day someone will come up with a way to for demonstrative purposes to connect a Model 4 running a chess program to a Kogo playing a chess program, both set on the highest skill level, and just let them play off at each other and see who has the smarts. Sargon 2 with the Z80 on the Model 4, or color chess with the power of the 6809 on the Kogo, so we can settle this once and for all, because everyone thinks their processors better than everyone else. I'll be the first to admit that there are some things about the 6809 that definitely outclass the Z80, but I also like how the Z80 can can be supercharged with higher and higher megahertz. So, because I come from a car background, cubic inches is all that matters. So the faster you can push the thing, doesn't matter if there are slower running, classier processors around. But I can say this about the Cocoa because we've got no Cocoa people here today. They're all at Cocoa Fest. So anyway, thanks for that, George. Since we're talking about the competition at the TRS 8-bit, let's go to Dusty. How you going, mate? What's up?
Hi everybody, sorry about that. Yeah, great to see everybody. Well, just as a quickie, core plan, as we were nattering about it, back in the day, the secretary of the UK group was an actual accountant in his job in life, sort of thing, and he organised a whole day competition of running and organised a prize for the winner for playing core plan a whole day. We actually had a meeting, a 7-day meeting with accommodation laid on and everything. And I just remember that it was quite a big thing, and it went on late at night. I can't remember who won it now, but it's just a pass. Yeah, firstly, just a quickie. June TRS 8-bit will be with us all early June. If you've got anything for me or you think of anything, if you could get it to me by the end of May, it would be appreciated, please. And also, has anybody any info about a guy who used to write in as Jake Commander? He did a lot of stuff in the early 80 USs. And it seems the guy was from the UK. I think he came over to the States, or he worked there for a while. And I traced an address for him back to Birmingham in central UK. So I sent a letter off, but I've not had a reply. So obviously he's moved on, and whoever's living there now, I had no idea what I was talking about, I would imagine.
You should be able to find something out about him. He had a regular column for 2, maybe 3 years in 80 Micro called Commander 80. And it was quite entertaining. Yeah, he was based in the UK, and I think before or during the time that he was messing around with TRS-80s, he was a roadie or had something to do with a band. Might have been ELO, but don't quote me on that. And so that's how he got to be sort of following them around the world. And they happened to be touring in the US and picked up a TRS-80, as you do, at the time, and sort of would spend his time in his hotel room sort of nerding out with this thing in between his work with the band. So all of that could be, erroneous, but that's how I understand it from reading his articles years ago in 80 Micro. So I mean, easy enough to check if he's still alive, I suppose, and he shouldn't be too hard to track down. But yeah, I think he was like a expat Brit who at the time was spending a lot of time in the US and messing around with the computers and stuff. So it'd be good if you can chase him up.
Yeah, I emailed everyone, all the contacts I've got in the UK, all 7 of us now, and they're dropping like flies at the minute, just to see if anybody could make the 10 o'clock. But I've not seen anybody else coming along. But there was a bit of interest, but I think the vast majority of them are quite, well, certainly perhaps even older than me. So, I think it's bedtime around 9, which is a killer, really, isn't it? Anyway, no, that's it, Matt, really.
Cool. All right. Well, thanks for joining us. We'll see you next month. All right. Marcel Ertz. Hey, buddy.
Hey.
What's new? What you working on?
Yes, I just released the MX keyboard. This is one without the numpad. But yeah, this now
press some of the keys. Let's hear that clicky goodness.
Okay. It's the more modern kind. It's not like the original.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then So this is like the full keyboard now completely set. It required a couple of changes to the shield itself and to the PCB. So you can see it's a lot closer to the shield itself because the key switches are just not having enough space. And because these keyboards only have like 6 units, there's no space for 2 additional keys on either side. So if you can see it. For this one, you have now 2 additional keys to close the gap. But yeah, that's about it. Oh, yeah, and I'm working on new cases for the Model 1. This one is actually one of such a case. So this is a complete new case. I kind of digitized the whole thing and then put this, printed it, ordered it online, and yeah, works pretty good.
So for those who, like myself, who think of 3D printers as these relatively cheap hobby units, that print, maybe something that big if you're lucky, how does one go about getting a full case 3D printed?
Yeah, I don't have such a big printer. You can actually order it online. There are companies which will print these for you. And so this is actually a resin print. This is not just like the normal filament print, but with resin. So it's actually pretty smooth. That's why you can just spray it, and it looks pretty good. Just order it online. Online, there's some manufacturers who have these size of 3D printers where you can just order it.
What does that cost approximately?
Well, yeah. So the point of this was to actually get these fitting to the old cases. So if you broke something like one part, you can just order a new one. So the top side costs $40. The bottom is about $50, just because there's a lot more resin there. So it's okay, the price. I mean, it's surprisingly cheap for that, but it's it's still kind of expensive if you buy just the normal case, which is just the empty case. It's probably around the same price, I guess. I don't know, at least on eBay.
All right,
It seems like a bargain to me, actually, $40 for a case top. That because that's what happens to most people is the previous owners, some point in its life, they've over tightened the screws, and you can't tighten, and so the screw holes are all busted. That's the main thing. Or people are just too stupid to pack it properly, and it gets busted in transit.
Or you can have a third option there, guys who like me who fix it perfectly, get it perfectly working, call the owner to come get it, and 5 minutes before he arrives, trips and drops it onto a concrete floor and destroys the case entirely.
Well, that's never happened to me, but it's kind of like would want to slash my wrists if that happened. But
so Marcel, you've recreated the motherboard, you've recreated the keyboard, you recreated the case. The question is,
and the bezels too. This is like also a custom bezel.
So when are we going to see the TRS-80 reproductions go on the market?
So yeah, everything is now I replicated everything now. There's nothing that is not. So this is a whole. I just removed the bezel, but this is a whole TRS-80 Model 1, all built from scratch. So there's
the first one since 1981.
Yeah,
that's great.
What's the rough cost to create one now of these?
To create a whole, if you buy everything single, not batch ordered, it costs about $800. So it's quite expensive. Just the main board is about $330 with components. It's quite expensive because all the individual ICs cost some things like some components cost like $10 each or $15, like if you want to get the relay. So it adds up, and then the case and the keyboard. But if you get it to batch order, you can get it a lot cheaper. So for example, this keyboard costs around $240 if you buy it as a single unit, like $80-$90 just the shield by itself. And keycaps like $65. But if you order it in a batch, then you can get it down to 120, 100 for this one. So it really depends on ordering larger batches and making it possible to push down the price.
And the Model 1, of course, has a fair number of parts in it that are obsolete. They just plain don't make them anymore. So you have to find the static RAMs for the video RAM. Those things used to be cheap years ago, but as they're starting to dry up, the places that have them have started to increase the price of them. I've noticed, and some of the other components on the Model 1 motherboard that were probably common at the time it was designed, but very difficult to get at competitive prices now. So,
and then the next step, as you're just saying, is because you can't get it so much anymore. I'm actually working on a version which replaces all of the more expensive parts and all of the things you don't really need anymore. Like you don't need any more 8 individual ICs for the DRAM, and the same thing for the SRAM. You can have just one static RAM. There's a lot of circuitry for the power unit, which is not needed anymore. So you can actually remove a lot of the additional stuff, which is not really needed anymore nowadays. So I'm working on right now Model 1, which has all of this removed and uses more modern interfaces instead of all these DIN 5, which are always easy to swap out.
Yeah, well, just replacing the main RAM with a static RAM, you can get rid of the 12-volt system completely out of the computer. So you sort of cut down build time as well on those things. Here's an interesting fact. I'm sure you've worked it out by now, but some people are always surprised to hear this. The base of the Model 1 and the expansion interface is the same thing, except turned around 180 degrees. So when you're going to design the case for the expansion interface, you only need to design one thing. You've already done the work on the base for the Model 1, which is it's actually it's the same thing. So just letting you know. I know that one of your future projects is the expansion interface.
Yes.
So can't wait to see that. That will be a
I can't wait to see the Model 3 case reproduction.
Or the Model 6000.
Just
think of all those busted Model 12, 16Bs and 6000s that could be resurrected with a new case.
I've got one right back here. Doesn't have
Yeah, but $40 for a Model 1 case, given the size of it and how fast those printers are, that whoever's printing them must spend like 5 days straight printing to print that thing out. Though I'm sure someone's going to tell me that industrial 3D printers are much faster than home ones. So anyway, yeah. I had a resin printer for a little while, but I didn't like the smell, so I gave it away to someone. Though when it did work, the output was top notch. It was very good. Okay, Marcel, good to see you. You're going along to the California gig, aren't you? Is that right?
Unfortunately not, because it conflicts with VCF Southwest, and I already
you're at Southwest. Yeah.
Joining there.
Cool. All right. Well, we'll look forward to your update from Southwest next time.
Okay.
Thanks,
Okay. Let's see. Paul Metcalf. May the 4th be with you.
Absolutely. Happy Star Wars Day. Actually, Star Wars Day is the 25th of May, if you count the first movie when it came out. So a little early. Not much new to speak of on the Model 1 front on my end, other than picked up a low-tech TRS-80 ID adapter board that I'm going to build up here and do experimenting with that. Come to the conclusion that my problem with the actual hard drive with LDOS on it is software related. I've diagnosed everything with the hard drive, everything with the expansion interface, everything with the main CPU, cabling, you name it, I've tested it. It all tests fine. So I've got to have a corrupted disk image. So That's kind of on hold at the moment. Been working on a Coco 2, trying to get a real hard disk implemented with it. Given up on that completely. Half the software you need for OS 9 level 1 version 2 is incomplete. So it's never going to work. So I bought a Coco SDC, and that's the end of that. And
Things
OS 9,
that's the thing. You gotta give them a shot and see how they go. Chances are there's someone at Coco Fest who would know how to do it or had it set up and working back in the day. But I think even then sometimes the people have lost the software or the whatever was needed to get it up and running.
yeah, I think it's because not a lot of people did it. The modules that in OS 9 that are needed have gone missing, or for whatever reason, it doesn't finish.
It's not unusual. It's like whenever it's like getting non-TRS-80 hard drives working on Model 1s and 3s and 4s. If you look through old magazines back in the day, there's all different companies offering different hard disk solutions. You never see them secondhand, so they obviously didn't sell many of them. And when you do find them, whether they've got the driver software and everything ready to get them up and running it's a tall order.
So
Yep.
the Coco is working with a Coco SDC, which is the thing that everybody in the Coco world says to use. And to be honest with you, it isn't much easier to use than OS 9 with a regular disk drive. So
Yep.
I have no knowledge of how to use OS 9, and you try to read the manuals and forget it. It's not user friendly at all, in my opinion.
Nor do I. That was what I found the most interesting when I didn't do much or anything with OS 9, but I'd been spending a lot of time with the Model 4 in the lead up to that. So I was familiar with, disk operating systems based around a system disk and command line, but even OS 9 I'm sure it's like 10 times more powerful than LS-DOS or CPM, but the learning curve is steep and too steep for me.
Yeah, same here. So that was an inheritance, and if I'll pick up some cartridges for games, that's okay. That's good enough for that.
Cool.
But yeah, with the Model 1, with the hard drive situation, the Fred still works fine with the Quinterface, and good enough for me right now.
Good to hear it.
So kind of whittling down a little bit of my collection of TRS-80 stuff now. It's not gotten quite to Peter's level of collection. It's starting to get a little out of hand, and I'm starting to part with some things on eBay, and same with some of my Atari 8-bit collection. Kind of just trying to get the size down a little bit, and
a little bit out of hand's not the end of the world. I read a quote somewhere.
Mav?
Mav is frozen.
Mav is frozen.
Well, it is winter down
They're
there.
saying that why are Genius's places frozen? I'm here. Can you hear me now?
Yeah,
my internet. Now we can. I've got a thing on the screen saying my internet connection is unstable. Though I am some 13,000 kilometers away, so just cut me a bit of slack. What was I talking about? Oh, there's a quote that geniuses seem to surround themselves with mess everywhere. It's or you can always tell a genius because their place is messy. And I look around my place. I don't feel like a genius, but I'll take that quote and run with it. So a little bit of mess and clutter is never a bad thing as far as I'm concerned. Okay, so we've just come up to the 1 hour mark, so we're going to have a look at the magazine that hopefully some of you have got. So if you've got it there, hold it up. Yeah, 80 micro. So this one, April 1987, is one of my favorite issues. So it marks 10 years since the Model 1 came out, which of course it came out in August 1977. And so 80 Micro released this special issue, which has a sort of a pretty good history of Tandy computing, for considering that the company is still operating at this time, because most of the time when people have written things about TRS-80, it's long since passed that the company has stopped building computers or gone belly up altogether. So one of the first things I noticed about this one, so I talked to years ago, I was on a Usenet group with, and I talked to Eric Maloney, who was the editor-in-chief of 80 Micro at this time. And that machine on the cover is actually one of their machines. That's stuff out of their cupboard or closet at 80 Micro that they weren't using anymore. But that's actually one of their machines they pulled out for the photo shoot to go on the cover. So that was a nice touch. I believe in this issue or in a future issue of it, they put this system up for in a competition. You could win it, but the caveat was that we don't even think it runs properly. It's so old. So if you win it, you take it as is where is. So moving along to page 8, Eric Maloney. There's a young picture of him there. Talks about the history of the Model 1, and it's a pretty good write up. Keep going, Peter. There he is. And he does make a few interesting points there that, at 10 years old, the Model 1 sort of at the time didn't bear any real relevance any long, to the machines that were around at the time. The people that were buying, MS-DOS machines, Amigas, and things like that probably didn't even know of or care about the history of Tandy's computers or the Model 1. But he does write he actually writes a very good column. That column sidetracks there. I'd like to sort of find Eric and have him talk about his time at Tandy Assembly, about his time at 80 Micro. For those who have a physical copy of this magazine, you'll probably notice it's one of the thinner ones. This one only has about 110 pages and change. So this is where the sort of the at the tail end of the 80 Micro era, and they're starting to get thinner. Page 17 talks about the FCC, how they're tightening up on the noise coming from computers. There's quite a long article there about it. Interesting that there's an article about the FCC in the issue that has a Model 1 on the front, which was the computer that brought basically the whole computer industry to the interest of the FCC. So that was a little nod to them. On pages, so a lot of the original companies are still advertising in 80 Micro. Page 19 is from Howe Software. I'm sure we've all used some of their software. And if we move on to the next page after that, Peter, you can see Aerocomp was a big supplier of disk drives, not only for TRS-80s, but for all sorts of systems. You've got their Model 1 double density adapter. And then once you scroll down to the next page, you can see their low-cost hard drive systems for TRS-80s. And these are the sort of things I was talking about before, where they look neat and probably sold well, but when you find them, if you find them, getting your hands on the drivers and everything to make them work again is a bit of a headache.
Stainless steel. pretty.
Yeah, stainless steel even. And you got the usual things like your disk drive updates for cassette Model 3s and 4s. Skipping to page 24, we've got an interesting ad there from Radio Shack, which I'll point out the flaw in it. It's only a sort of nerd like me could point it out, but so the ad is for DeskMate 3 for the Color Computer 3, and that is indeed on the screen there, DeskMate 3. But the computer is a Color Computer 2, and the screen is a CM8, which is the Color Computer 3 monitor. There's no way to connect a Color Computer 2 to a CM8, but that's Tandy advertising, and I don't know how that fell through the cracks. Maybe they didn't. The Coco 3 and Coco 2 were selling so well at that time, they didn't care to reshoot the computer, the ad with the right computer on it. But
that was Coco 3 time, right? Coco
yeah,
3.
well, yeah, the 3 and the 2 were sold at the same time for a little while, but yeah, that's definitely a 2 on the picture there.
It's
Coco
missing
2
the extra function keys on the keyboard. You got 2 extra function keys on the Coco 3.
Yeah, and a different badge on it, and a grey
Correct.
bezel. Yeah, so that's definitely a 2. All right, I'll try not to take too much more time on this, and we'll go to other people. Page 29 shows a mega disc. So another thing which looked cool in the ads. There it is. Never seen one in real life. A megaplexer looks like a network box for a Model 4 network.
Somebody in the community was talking about this 3 or 4 months ago. They had one, or were they just looking for one? I forget.
Yeah. Yeah. So as you scroll along on page 33 is a review of the Tandy 1000 SX, which was the newest machine at the time. It was a good machine in that it had 5 slots. It was no more powerful than the original 1000A, but it fixed a few of its problems by like putting all the RAM on the motherboard, and it had 5 slots instead of 3 slots. But it was pretty quickly within 6 months, if memory serves, replaced by the Tandy 1000 TX. Page 38 is the first review of the accelerator board for the Model 4. So this is around the time the accelerator board for the Model 4 came out. Now, let's see. Okay, and starting, yeah, so there's a review there. It's an interesting read. Starting at page 50 or 51 is a series of articles about the history of Tandy, which I reread them yesterday, and they're all basically correct, which you would expect them to be so soon after the computer was the computer was released. So that's an interesting article. And just before I go, so everyone knows that computer magazines of this time, including especially 80 Micro, had type-in program listings and programs for computers, and so it's only fitting that that they include a program this time that still ran on the Model 1. So page 78 is a program you could type in. Being a math junkie, I like this sort of thing. But yeah, the system requirements for this program, Test Tester, was a Model 1, 3, or 4, or Tandy 1000 computer. So even as late as August 87, especially for the 10 year of Tandy computing, 80 Micro at least decided to put something in that if someone still had a Model 1, they could type it in and mess around with a program just like they used to. Yeah. So that's my quick going through of 80 Micro. So August 87. Anyone else got any thoughts on it? Who else had a read of it last night or this morning?
I took a look at it in one section with the history. I found interesting they published the TRS-80 clone graveyard, and that's on page 62. And of the 8 clones they listed, 4 of them were actually the same thing. The
Are they
Dick
all
Smith System
the Dick
80,
Smith?
the PMC 80, the Video Genie, and TRZ 80.
The clone graveyard, yeah.
Yep. Yep, there is. I've never seen a TRZ 80, and I think that's probably a mistake, or just they didn't know what to type there.
I think the
Probably-
TRZ 80 was South Africa.
Yeah, and if you think about it, maybe they didn't want to type it. I don't know. Sensitivities. We're talking 1987, middle of apartheid. Maybe they didn't want to type it there, or new people would it's putting Australia as a safe one to put there. A Phoenix. I don't know. No idea what that is, but it says Phoenix there.
One thing that stood out to me in this article, let me see if I can find it near the beginning, which I really had a laugh at. This article is really a great summary of the history of the TRS-80, so it's almost like a reference, I think. Here's it. On page 52, when he's talking about the Homebrew Computer Club and Steve Leininger, he says Leininger was more conservative than the others, meaning that he bathed regularly, got haircuts at least semi-regularly, and was married to a flesh and blood woman instead of a growing conglomeration of wiring and electronic components.
They were good writers, you got to admit. I mean, they absolutely nailed it with that. And I still use that phrase when I'm talking about sort of people who are not, who are into computers but not, crazy, introverted, lock themselves in the lab for weeks and work on something types. But yeah, that was well written. I got to admit. Yeah. And the other thing about this time as well, 1987, is that 80 Micro, the writers of this would have had probably enough clout to be able to reach out to the various people who they're talking to for their, even if their reply was no comment or something, they could, all these people would they could probably contact them and sort of say, hey, we're writing an article about the Model 1 here. Do you want to give us your thoughts and input? So they all have been alive and their experiences relatively fresh in their minds.
But why does the Where Are They Now not have Vernon Hester?
Yeah, Vernon, did they reach out to you in 87 for your input for this?
No.
No. Was your company in the advertisers index?
No.
No.
I didn't see it.
Did you ever advertise in 80 Micro, or was it always prohibitively expensive?
I advertised like everybody else, probably back in the 80, 81, 82, 83, a full page ad.
Yeah. Back when the magazine was 400 pages long.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I stopped advertising in 84.
Okay, yeah. And that would have been about the time that that Lazy Rider was winding up as well, I would imagine.
No, he kept going. He kept
He's-
going to the early 90s, I think.
Okay. Yeah.
Notice in the history that Tandy 10 is mentioned.
Is it? Where?
Let's
Page,
see.
Page 66. There's a little tree there. It also has the TDP 100, which I don't know if that actually existed.
It did.
TDP 100 is oh yeah, there's the Tandy 10 there. Got no yeah.
It
And also
exists.
on page 60, it's listed too in the
Yeah.
Tandy
No,
trivia section.
The
Okay.
TDP
Everybody knows.
100, there was a discussion because on the Discord, because there's one that just showed up on eBay.
It's a Coco, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, those aren't well, they are rare, but they're not impossible to find. They're a Coco rebadged as a TDP 100 and sold through non-Radio Shack chains like Sears and similar department stores. So the TDP 100 definitely exists, but that's they only produced one of them, which is why that doesn't go anywhere after that. So yeah, that's a pretty good chart up to that point in time.
Mhm.
I noticed there's a picture of Kim Watt. I've never seen one before on page 57, I guess.
Yeah, I noticed that too. Yeah.
I just only know him from all this copy protection that causes problems to this day.
Where's Kim Watt today? Anybody know?
Milwaukee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it mentions right here he moved to Milwaukee. I guess he's
Oh.
still.
Yeah, lots of famous names there. Bill Schroeder of Logical Systems, well, of which we wouldn't have LS-DOS for the Fred and everything. So, yep.
Yeah, it's amazing. You know, we're page 57 and we're already more than halfway through when you look at you mentioned the thickness of this 80 micro, how it's just pales in comparison to the heyday of the TRS-80. It's interesting. Of course, Wayne Green himself. Any
Yep.
trivia?
I know a bit about Tandy trivia. Yeah.
So does Eric. Three-time champion. And we have two three-time champions here.
Yeah, I know. Oh, but should mention to everyone listening to this. So I'm going to do a on the Facebook page for Tandy Assembly. I'm going to do a call out for people who want to do the trivia game. I'm going to have 3 new people this time up front, and we're going to have expert rounds to for each of them. So it's going to be quite a great game this year. I did some pub trivia last week, so now I'm sort of geared up to getting the game up and running for this year. I'm just looking at all the things that scroll past, all the products that were announced.
Did Pete notice the top of page 59? This might get his goat. The serious drop. Yeah, the serious drawbacks of the 2 is its inability to accept cassette input.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's I remember we talked about that article from that issue.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably going to go down in history as his most famous strange statement.
640K moment.
Yeah, exactly. Imagine loading a 64K basic program at 300 baud or 500 baud. Yeah. Yep. I noticed as we were scrolling past before, just to wind this up. So there was a disassembler program there that went past, and the author is Dave Gobbin, who actually, that was what must have been one of his first articles. He went on to do big things in Computer News 80. He had a monthly column in Computer News 80 and published a lot of really high quality software for the Model 4. So this would have been one of his early articles for in 80 micro. So yeah, all right. So let's wind that up. That's August 1987. If anyone wants to nominate a magazine for the next TRS-80 trash talk in a month's time, let me know, and I'll organise to have that discussed. I'll get my copy out and have a read of it. All right, let's get back to the callers. Patrick, how you doing, buddy?
Hello. I don't know if you can hear me very well.
Yeah.
Well enough.
I posted in the message section. You were talking about the Phoenix of the dead computers. I found the ad for it. It's had some, pretty high standards considering it's supposed to be a Model 3. It was done in Ohio. I don't know how well. I've never seen one, but yeah, I posted in the message section. Besides that, I'll be at the Southwest Tandy area. I'll be showing off the F80 again. I've done a small batch for those. I'll have a couple of things like Cocos, and maybe I'll bring the 4000, see if I can get the better of it. But we'll see.
Cool. Okay. And okay, so I guess you're going along to VCF. You wouldn't miss it, would you,
I'll be at
Patrick?
VCF Southwest, yeah.
Wish I could be there. What about Tandy Assembly later in the year?
Finances, we'll see.
I know it's a hell of a drive for you. That's the downside.
It's not just that, is that we had to refinance the house, and we're currently running at 7% on the house, so it's taking a lot of the budget.
Yeah. No, I get that. Cool. All right, Patrick. Always thanks for joining us. Good to see you. Hope to see you next time around. Who else have I not gotten to? Let's see. Tim. Hi.
Hello. It's
Hey,
good to see everyone.
how you doing?
Enjoying. It's good to see everyone. I'm enjoying listening. Can you hear me?
Yep, perfectly.
Good. Yeah, so it's working. Yeah, so been busy at work, but trying to get back into it. I'm definitely looking forward to Tandy Assembly, but it's fun to hear what everybody's doing. In honor of Cocoa Fest, I kind of got out my MC10, so that's what's going on here. This is kind of fun. It's MC10 with Brendan Donahue and his daughter Morgan did a Pi key, so it has a modern keyboard on it, which really gets rid of the biggest problem with the MC10. And I wrote a little program that hopefully you can see that if there's a slash on the screen, it's big blocks or whatever. But if you can't, oh well, it's not anything spectacular, but lots of fun. It kind of makes a keyboard and lets you type on a modern keyboard with the MC10, which the MC10 is kind of notorious for being a really rough experience to type on. So as Cocoa Fest gets going here, just kind of thinking of the Cocoa community. But thrilled to hear all the neat stuff that's going on. And not too much else.
Tim, are you going to be speaking at Tandy Assembly?
Yeah, I think I'm trying to put together a talk on using logic analyzers. I did a oscilloscope introduction a few years ago, and that was fun. But I didn't talk a lot about the logic analyzers, and I've got my lab is a wreck because I'm trying to restore a DEC VT50 terminal, which has proven to be a real trouble thing. So lots of oscilloscopes and logic analyzers. So hopefully I'll be able to put together something interesting that folks will find intriguing and talk about what you can use for what, and if you're interested in that, where you can get something at a reasonable price to kind of delve in at the hobbyist level.
That'll be great. Thanks.
Sounds like your place, you're just indulging in your inner genius. That's what I call it these days.
Yeah, well, work's been bad, but I'm kind of getting through that and getting to play around with various stuff. So it's been fun.
Yep.
But I'm intrigued. I had no idea of the TRS 8-bit competition. That looks really interesting. So I'm going to definitely download. Thanks, George, for doing an overview. That was very intriguing. Maybe get
Yep.
that.
Cool. Yeah, so I've been sort of thinking about what I'm going to talk about at Tandy Assembly this year. I think I've I think I'm gonna talk about the Tandy 2000 and 1000. Though I don't know whether that would be considered a tech talk or a main show talk. What's your thoughts on that, Peter?
It depends on how technical it will be, I guess.
It's be typical of my historical ones with a little bit of tech, but mainly history mixed with humor.
Yeah, we always put you in the tech track, right? So
Yeah. Time to upgrade me. Yeah, well, the reason I picked those two machines is because they'll be 40 years since both of those came out. One was a dismal failure, and the other one was an unmitigated success. So it's surprising how Tandy's fortunes could turn around with their foray into MS-DOS machines. And as we know, the success of the 1000 sort of given time killed off all their 8-bit machines and made them basically a MS-DOS only thing until they took up their ball and went away. So
ironically, the more powerful machine is the one that failed.
yes, that's the irony of it all. It took until 1987, I think, to produce a computer that had more performance than the Tandy 2000. Yet the 2000 failed in the marketplace. But yeah. All right, getting to, let's see who we got next. Craig Skeels. Hey, mate.
Hey, so not much going on with me. I don't even have my own place right now, so uh, just keeping all my
Everything in
stuff
storage, is it?
It's all in storage. It's all neatly in storage, but it's in storage, so I can't really play with any of it, hardware or software. So,
Thanks for joining us anyway. It's always good to see you here.
hopefully I'll emerge maybe before Tandy Assembly, but probably looking more at next year to get back.
Okay. So you've got a plan at least to getting your new place and unpacking everything, or it's not all up in the air?
It's a long-term plan to save up a little money, couch surfing. So yeah.
I'd normally say anyway, as long as it works out for you, that's all that matters, isn't it? It's not a route I would go down, but you know, sometimes we just have to do these things. Hang in there and let us know how you're going next time we're on. Okay, Craig?
All right.
Good on you, buddy. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks.
And Quinnan.
Hey.
Hey.
Got some CW2 DMK updates. Let's see. Last time we met was in early March, wasn't it? We didn't have an April one.
That sounds about right.
End of March, I think, but yeah.
Oh, I thought it was beginning of March.
Maybe. Who knows?
Oh, okay. Because I had an update of to CW2 DMK on March 11th, and I think the previous one was the week before that. That update was 4.10.0, and it got a new dash cap S option for IRA. He had this problem where occasionally he would get disks that were readable, except it would drop the ID address mark and the data address mark for the same sector on a read. And then CW2 DMK would not declare an error because it's like, well, I don't see any sector. So it would say, that's a good read, and then go on. And so in these rare cases, he wanted to be able to specify the minimum number of sectors per track/side to be able to ensure that it would retry on those missing sectors that they're both their ID address mark and data address mark just disappeared got corrupted in the read. So that's a new feature that got added back in March in that release. And then I had a new release just a couple hours ago, 4.10.1, and that one fixes another problem for IRA. that if with CWDMK, you can have it auto guess the step rate, and it would look at the disc and try to figure out whether you're a 40-track disc or an 80-track disc, and you're reading it in. However, if you read certain discs that are copy protected, that would screw up the algorithm because it would see cylinder numbers from the disc that didn't make sense. So it goes, oh, well, I'm going to switch into double stepping. Oh, that didn't make sense, your cylinder number. So I'm going to switch into single stepping. And then it would go, oh, the cylinders still don't make sense. So I'm going to switch into double stepping. This would just keep bouncing forever. So I addressed that old bug. And then Tim Mann also fixed a bug where when the disk would wrap around, if it happened to wrap just right in the data stream that was creating the DMK, it could glitch. So he made sure that it didn't hit this magic little window that could cause it to mess up and declare an error when there really wasn't an error. So that was, like I said, that was just released a couple hours ago. And so those of you who still have a cat weasel, you can enjoy the new update, and I'll toss it in the chat. There you go. And, so if anyone has any questions on the release or any questions for me, go ahead. That's all I had for the update.
Well, that's what we call breaking news.
Yeah, I haven't even notified Ira to put it into the feed for TRS-80.com.
You thought he'd be here today, didn't you? So you would tell him live on air.
Yeah, but he skipped.
That's okay. That's okay.
Hey, we need new hardware types to start producing new cat weasels.
Yeah. Well, I am working on my grease weasel port, but Ira, with all these bug reports, has been sucking up my time. And also I had surgery last month, which also sucked up my time.
Don't do it. Clearly you've recovered well from it, so
yeah.
Good. Thanks for joining us today, Quentin. Good to have you here. Hope to see you here next time. Peter Phillips, did I overlook you or not? I can't remember.
You did.
Yeah, I haven't been in the rotation yet.
Okay.
Yeah, one minor community note, I guess, is that a recent version of MAME had a bug where it rejected all of the single-sided DMK disks, and that's been fixed, which all I can say, my reaction was a face palm when it happened. It's like, I decided to just try out, see, oh, I wonder what MAME is up to now. And it's like, well, it can't recognize DMK disks anymore. It's just they put in more strict checking to see if the disk is valid. So it's a 1 byte fix, and I went through a few hundreds of DMK images, and it seems to recognize almost all of them now. So it's okay. It's very particular that in the DMK, like the address marks are indexed, and it insists that those have to be FEs. There's a very few DMKs that just like that doesn't pass the check, but it's okay. The other thing was that thanks to Joel, to a screen share here, we got somebody had a hard drive that was actually looked like it was in fantastic shape, and they got a good image of it, and it had their data from 30 years ago or something, but there's a little problem with it, and I'll show you what it is. It's like, this is the EMU, which is the David Guesswine's format. So we've got the boot sector here, and we can look at the 4C, and that's where the directory is, which is cylinder 76. But when you go to cylinder 76, there's nothing there. So the most vital cylinder is missing. There's no directory information. But if you search around, I go back to the first cylinder. Whoops. Oh, come on. Like if you search for sys6, you can see that there's some of the system files there, and so on. So George and I got to thinking that maybe we could recover this data. So what George did was, I'll show you the directory. He extracted all of the file systems completely on head one, because like you talk about the drivers, Mav, they did have the boot disk, so we could see that head one was meant to be a file system. And so we extracted all the granules and data from it, and then started kind of slowly reassembling it. And we wrote a Perl script to do that. And it's a bunch of Perl code, but what we started doing is figuring out, okay, well, sys0.sys, it's these granules, and this is the length. And then slowly accumulated until we found pretty much all the programs on there. And mentioning Kim Watt, these pcheck 6, that says power tools, I think. What was, I guess, interesting about that to me was that I was kind of expecting it to be a bit of a jigsaw puzzle, that there'd be a piece of a file in one granule and then another piece somewhere else. But as it turned out, except for one case, every file was in a sequential number of granules, which is, maybe it's not surprising for a hard drive. I don't know. Some of the files are small, like, a filter file is just one granule. And then once we got that going, then using another program, we did a bunch of checksums of all of the blocks of disks and files in an old TRS-80 archive, and we were able to figure out where most of the programs came from, so that we kind of verify that, yeah, these are exact copies of the original programs. Like it's literally LS-DOS 6.3, the power tools, and I think the other one was the file cabinet seemed to be the others. And then finally, once we had all the files, then I thought, well, maybe we can reconstruct the directory track. So, whoops, it's a little bit big here, but using yet another Perl script, it's not really comprehensible here. We're able to take and rebuild the directory. So now I haven't sent this back yet because there's still a couple of files I want to figure out, like the help file's broken. But let's enter the date. And I finally, after a while, I created a batch file to mount it, but this finally got it all back. Or that's all of the now drive 0 is a hard drive, and said basic compiler is on there. And if we go into the disk viewer, now if we go to hard drive cylinder 76, now you can see it's all back. There's the hit table, or the GAT table, the hit table, and then the various files. And the utility helps here, actually, because pcheck 6 will tell you that the disk is almost completely okay, except that I don't think it quite understands the hard drive's GAT. And the only other surprise was that I went through the various CMD files, and there's something called submerge, which seemed like some kind of business utility. But I was kind of surprised when I ran it that for a business utility, it has like the best splash screen I've ever seen. It's like, I don't know what it does, but I think it edits screens, but it's kind of cool. It's like it's got a full screen video there to introduce itself.
Like the author was like, really wanting to write a game, and he couldn't take the company's dime.
Yeah. So, well, the graphics too, they fit the Model 4 so well. It's like, it's amazing. Anyways, so that was fun. That was like several days work. But if you need to recover files, not as hard as it seems. Just take your time. Yeah, that's about it for me.
Awesome.
Thanks for that, Peter. Lucky I didn't overlook you. But you thought you were gonna be the one to miss out this time around. You know, I'd never forget you guys.
Never.
I think that's everyone. Eric Dittman, did we mention anything? You got anything on?
No, just getting ready for VCF Southwest, and I did note that somebody actually recovered the official TRS-80 2.3 for the Japanese Model 1.
Oh, very nice. That's good they found that. Okay.
And I think George is analyzing it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Did we ever announce that Eric was a Tandy Assembly board member now?
I thought on the last
Yeah, okay.
live.
So whenever you have questions, you go to Eric.
Yeah.
He's the newbie.
Yeah. And that's one of the reasons I'm not doing the trivia competing this year.
Yeah. Conflict of interest.
Yeah.
That's
Hey, Matt,
okay. You can still play the audience game along with everyone else. That seems to be a lot of fun actually, the audience one. I'm trying to work out what the best length of time for a trivia game for Tandy Assembly would be. The one thing I noticed at pub trivia is it tends to be extremely long, like an hour and a half or 2 hours long, but with large gaps in between to refill glasses with strong alcohol and buying fries. But I suppose that's always, Peter, something we can aim for.
Hey, we had a bar. Didn't we had a bar on the floor last year?
We got a bar there. I can stop at various times and say, "Go fill your drinks. We're ready for round 3." And
Yeah.
people stagger back to their seats.
Cash bar. No.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, it was good. It was good last year. I hope they made hope they did all right out of the drinks bar last year. I never heard whether they thought it was a viable thing or not. I liked having it there.
Yeah, it's a small additional fee, but I think it's worth it. It helps with the ambiance.
Cool. And don't forget, so you need to hang a GoPro around your neck, Eric, at the thing and live stream, VCF.
Somebody's got to do it. I'm disappointed.
Someone's got to do it. Yeah.
Showed up here tonight.
He selectively muted me. All right.
We're gonna play some games.
We're going to play some games. Any last anything anyone else wants to say before we move on to game playing time?
I figured out how to share my screen, so if you want a quick demo of recent stuff.
Yeah, sure. Go for it, Lawrence.
Let's see.
And Peter, you can boot your game up.
Does this look good? So this is the printer stuff. So here I've got like a you can paste this in, and then so there's this little icon normally you can use to see the printer output over here on the right. If you do something like list, it'll flash up, and you can turn the screen around and get your printer output. And one thing I've added here is in the settings you can switch to the FP 215, and then when you switch back, then if you run this program, then you get this thing. And this is not how slowly the printer would go. This is how slowly the basic program is running to actually generate these things. And up here, you can change the pen color and so on as you go. So you can try different.
Amazing.
You might ask, like, why is this red, blue, green instead of the normal red, green, blue? And that's because this is the order that the pens were listed in the Radio Shack catalog. And then say this is good, and then this switches around. Oops. I want to show the autocomplete because this is kind of fun. So before there was some autocomplete. One of the things I find hard when I'm coding, because I don't know the assembly that well, is like what instructions are even available to me. Like how do you assign to A or something? And then so here it'll list like all the different things you can do to assign to A. But the autocomplete is much, much better now. Like, let's see, you have something like that. So now you can see all the different ways, including like, for example, all the things you can do from memory. So it'll show you N, and then here you can type whatever, autocomplete to that. So for HL, for example, this is all the ways you can assign to HL. So you can do, this directly or that autocomplete. So that's just like, or you could do, for example, this doesn't make sense in this context, but you could do, for example, plus main or something, and all that will autocomplete. So that's really good when learning the assembly. And you can still do things like autocomplete from descriptions. Like I always forget how to rotate bits. So you can type rotate, for example, and it'll show you all the or rotate left. It'll show you all the rotate instructions, and you can pick, okay, this is how you rotate A or something. So the autocomplete's just way more sophisticated. And oh, here's another one. For example, you can, if let's say you jump to loop, but loop's not defined yet, when you go to define it, it'll autocomplete to that. So because it knows that it's used but not defined. There's a feature that Tim suggested, which is you can play cassette audio directly. So this will actually come out of your computer's audio. So if you plug that into a real machine, in principle, this should work. I've never tried it, but it'll do that. You can develop ROMs if you set the org to 0 and then you run it. It won't load the system ROM, so this will be your ROM if you want to do that. And related to that is you can export to Intel hex or binary for a EEPROM burner. So that's that. And a few other changes. Yeah, I think I mentioned these things, but you can write to floppies and other different things. But these are the things I wanted to demo. Because I'm still focusing here with the IDE on just making it easier for new assembly language programmers, because it can be really intimidating to know like what is even available to me.
How dare you make assembly language easy?
Exactly. Democratize everything. That's it.
I'm going to use this on my next game, I promise you.
Oh, please, that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks, Lawrence. That looked great.
Yeah.
Okay, Peter, you got a game for us. What game are we playing this month?
Well, I left it open for everybody else. Did anybody bring a game that they want to share? Who's got a game? I mean, I put Roundup, that's sort of self-promoting myself, but oh, by the way, I have made Roundup for free now, so anybody can download it and just ask me for a copy.
It's recovered its development costs. Now it's, now it's for free.
It never will. You won't get the retro packaging, you won't get the experience, but you can still play the game.
Okay.
But I posted it if anybody wants to give it a shot. Obviously, if you're going to compete against me, you're going to lose, but
yeah. Patrick is suggesting Asteroid. So have you got Nova at hand, Peter?
No.
No.
This is bring your own game. BYOG. Who's got a game they can bring and share? Post it in the channel.
If we had what's that other gentleman usually joins us? The gamer guy.
Stu.
Stu.
He would have one here ready to go straight away. Crickets. I don't have games. I'm not a gamer.
All right. So while I'm waiting for somebody, I'll just play a game of Roundup because that's what I had going.
Yep.
But please, someone else feel, the pressure's on to deliver.
So what's the highest score you've ever got with this?
I actually don't remember. It's over 2,000. I know that. I haven't played it in a long time.
And where would people go if they wanted to download a free copy of this now?
Actually, I don't think I posted on the website. It is in the Tandy Discord in the Vintage Games channel. You can find it.
Okay.
So you got to join the Tandy Discord if you want to. Pretty tough.
Everyone here is on the Discord, aren't they?
If not, they should be.
I've also posted a link to my emulator running this disk image. If you just want to click that, you'll play it.
Okay. As usual, we always need people for keynote speaking at Tandy Assembly. So if you've got anyone in mind, or you run into anyone from the past who you think would be great for Tandy Assembly, please do pass their details on to the committee there.
Seriously, we need speakers, folks.
Yeah.
And start speeding up.
Tim, what have you got running on Trust GP?
The roundup game.
Oh, you've got it right. Yeah.
Did, for people. Like, I don't know if this is optimal, but it worked.
Pete, I don't know if you said, but like, where did this idea come from?
One of my favorite Atari VCS games was Stampede, and I'd never found a version of the TRS-80. So I said, I need to make a version of the TRS-80.
So what stops you in this game if you run into a cactus?
If you run into the skulls, those are skulls that pass you by.
Okay.
You don't lose anything, but you just get delayed. But you're only allowed a certain number of these little guys to pass you.
So you can catch them or run into them and kick them.
That's right.
Their feet are a bit mesmerizing.
One just got by me, so I lost. In the upper right hand, you see the asterisks. That's how many little calves you can still let get by you. And if you get these spear right here, you get 50 points. That's big money. Oh shoot.
I think I got up to 1350, so you still reign.
Now it's really kicking in. You gotta get those big money guys before things get too fast. That's one of the keys of the game.
God, look at them all.
1880. So if anybody can beat that, step up.
And close.
You gonna give it a shot, Tim?
Oh, I did. What did I get? It's like 500 or something. It was pretty bad.
I'm playing it as well.
All right. Well, next time I'm going to prepare with more games and throw them at people and make them play.
Yeah, yep. No, that sounds good. I hear you ran into an Aussie at VCF, Peter.
Oh yeah, I can't remember his name now.
Adrian Franulovic.
Yes, he runs the computer museum down there.
Yeah, we have none in Sydney, so a long way away from me, but closer to Aaron. Yeah, the ACMS, Australian Computer Museum Society, was run suboptimally for a very long time. It's been around a long time, but a few years ago, the whole changing of the guard there meant that Adrian took over, and his team whipped it into shape, and it's a pretty good museum now. So it was good that he could. He's there's a lot of buzz going around Australia at the moment for hopefully trying to implement a version of VCF in Australia somewhere. I've been asked to be involved in that group, and I said I'd help out where I can. But given that I'm 1,000 kilometers away, there's not a lot that I can do. But I would help with reconnaissance and what I've learned from Tandy assemblies and things like that to try and make it a good viable show. So hopefully there'll be a VCF in Australia sometime in the next 12 months or so.
Yeah, he related that whole story about how a few years ago the museum lost its lease or whatever, and they had to get all the computers out, and they asked everybody to come down and grab some computers and hold on to them for a while until they get another place. But a lot of people just kept the computers, unfortunately.
I remember reading that.
Yeah, it was a bit of a unmitigated disaster. It sort of was. It ran at. It was very short notice, so it was kind of there wasn't a lot of publicity, and I think they kind of it was a handshake agreement that you would pick up this stuff, look after it, and then when they needed it back, they'd be able to recall it back. But other people, for whatever reason, might have thought that maybe the place was going to close forever, and once they had the equipment on hand for a certain amount of time, it became theirs. It's hard to say exactly what happened, but yeah, they're still trying to get some of the equipment back. But by all accounts, they're getting good regular donations of good things to turn into exhibits at the moment. So they have a monthly, I think, hacker space type thing going on there, which I think works well for them. Gets a lot of guys out there and gets a lot of equipment that otherwise would take years to get around to being restored. If someone comes in who knows how to fix a PDP or a Sinclair Spectrum or something, you can just pull a dead one off the shelf and start messing around with it. So that works out well for them. Just before I go, I'll mention that on June 29th, I think it is, in Canberra, we've got a retro computer festival on there at which I'll be at. So if the next one of these is on June 29th, then I probably won't be here. But that'll be I went last year, the drive up to Canberra, and showed off a Model 3, a Model 4P, Coco system, and some pockets and portables, and actually had there a line printer. I think it was a line printer 6 with a banner program on it, and that thing just ran nonstop all day as kids were mesmerized watching the of the dot matrix. The funniest story I have of that is that so this kid and his mom came up to the computer, and I said, "Yeah, you can print a banner. You can type whatever he wants." And he typed he's a mad football fan, so he typed his football fans slogan and selected the largest font. And bear in mind, this printer's got wide 132 column paper, so it starts printing, and by the time it's done about the second letter, I said, the kid's excited watching this thing come out. I said to his mum, said, you might want to come back in 25, 30 minutes because that slogan is going to take a long time and a lot of paper to print out. And she had no idea it was going to take that long. And she just said, "Oh, can you cancel it and reprint it on a smaller font that takes less time because we don't need him to take 45 pages of dot matrix paper home that's taken us half an hour to print." So I fixed that, and everyone was happy. But yeah, it's we think of dot matrix printers as pretty pretty standard fare, and rather one of the parts of vintage computing that we endured back in the day, but are glad to see the back of. But seeing one up and running these days for some people, it's brings back a sense of nostalgia, and you know. So I'll wind up the show with that. Has anyone else got any last thing to say before we call it a day?
Actually, it reminds me that there is a show in Vancouver, Canada, on June 22nd, which is, it's normally been a gaming show, but now there's going to be a retro computing part to it. I forget what it's called, but it's in the Anvil Center in New Westminster if you happen to be in the area.
You got a table there, Peter?
George is going to do a talk, but I don't know if I'll have a table, but the club that's from Chilliwack will have they'll be bringing out a bunch of computers. So quite a variety of things usually.
Oh, great. Well, we'll look forward to the photos and your report of that next time.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, everyone. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you in a month's time.
Good night, Greg.
Everybody.
Bye.